For more than a decade, the BGK family has been a champion of dreams. It's the dreams of those who work for a better tomorrow that drive us to reach our greatest potential. We are here to support our kingdom partners, their families, their ministries, and our communities.
Did you know that online streaming is becoming the most powerful means of reaching a broader audience? Even major networks are transitioning from cable television to online streaming platforms. BGK is a Christian online TV network that is ahead of the curve. We specialize in virtual broadcasting, allowing leaders to broadcast right from their homes while sitting in the comfort of their customized studios. And as if that wasn't enough, you can have our very own broadcast production for as low as $25 per week. Yes, I said it, $25 per week. Wouldn't you love to have your studio right in the comfort of your home? Well, call us at 877-386-6207 and become a broadcast partner with BGK Broadcast Network.
Hello, I am Evangelist Virginia Bowie, the host of the Cafe Freedom chat show that airs Mondays at 2 o'clock and 8 o'clock p.m. If you have an inspiring, transformative word that you want to share, why not consider becoming a part of the BGK Network family? You'll be a blessing and you'll be blessed.
Hey everyone, it's me. I am so glad to be back in the studio today. I am Dr. Sonia Ricketts Stenson. I am the host of the Dinner Table Conversations with myself on the Rural Channel, hosted by our partners, BGK Network. Always like to get the housekeeping out of the way because, again, I have a phenomenal guest for part 3. Yes, part 3. This book has been so phenomenal. But yes, I want you to download our mobile app from any Google or Apple store. So if you're on the go, I know we all have busy lives, but you don't want to miss any of these shows, especially with Adrienne Thompson. She's a phenomenal young woman. Just download the app and you can catch us anywhere. And if you miss a show, if you want to go back and look at part 1 or part 2, yes, we have a YouTube channel, BGK TV. You can go there, and any show that you've missed that we presented on the Rural Channel, Dinner Table Conversations, you'll be able to catch. And I also want to remind you to get in touch with me. Take yourself to my website at www.soniastensonministries.org. Or you can hit me up at my toll-free number at 866-200-9850. I'm so happy to have her back in the studio one more time. Mr. Charm, welcome back, Adrienne Thompson. Welcome back. Welcome back. You've been a phenomenal guest these last 2 weeks, and I just want to close this out with power because I know we have so much to cover. We could not ever cover this book in one setting. We probably need a good 6 weeks. But we know that there's a volume 2 coming out. We know you're working on some other things. So take a brief moment just to introduce them. Make sure you give them that website at the beginning of this show so that they don't forget it. How you doing?
Absolutely. So again, my name is Andrea Thompson, and you can find out about the Audacity of Overcoming the book and the movement at www.theaudacityofovercoming.com. That's theaudacityofovercoming.com. You buy the book, you get the tea, but it's not tea that's just gossip. It's tea that's going to help us all heal and move forward in a positive and productive way.
So, Andrea, let me ask you a question. When we were here the last time, I had something that I had underlined, but then I want to get to this 90-day of homelessness where you met me, you met the family, but you said that you have been forced to affirm yourself even when society invalidates you. You are the first to know your thoughts. What you think of yourself matters. You matter no matter what they say. Very good quote. Now that's on page 91. We're not going to go there, but I just want people to listen. And if you are going through some things, know that you matter. You matter. Briefly, Adrian, why did you write that as we get to chapter 6, Faith Under Fire? Oh my God, such an awesome chapter. But why did you find a need to tell individuals in this book that they matter?
Because society places labels on you and puts you in these categories, and sometimes it's not the best position to be in, and it doesn't make you feel good about who you are. You're a marginalized individual. You're from an underserved community. You are in the lower class. You're homeless. You're a victim of domestic violence, which I always like to say a survivor of domestic violence. And so rather than giving power to these labels, you have to relabel yourself. You have to say, this happened to me, but I am not this. I am blank. And filling in that blank with something positive that's affirming to you. Because if you allow society to tell you who you are, they will make it convenient to be who they want you to be for their agenda, rather than you embracing who you are authentically in your empowered self and saying boldly and audaciously, I am this, and I am audacious.
And so I'm going to be really looking at this chapter from a different lens, because I know what you went through. But one of the first things that I read, it says people, and this is so me, as you know, people often make presumptions that domestic violence and struggles have to look a certain way. So true. They were confused when there was no drugs, believe me, abuse. Keeping it real, a little marijuana use, but no abuse. They assume you were uneducated, or that you must have done something wrong, or been something that you were ashamed of. The assumptions of homelessness, the assumptions of domestic violence is so valid today. Listen to my listening audience. Have been in this industry for 30 years, and I always get those same assumptions. But we have seen individuals with master's degrees, with doctor's degrees, that things have happened in their life that became life-turning and changing events. So before she talks about this, let me dispel the presumptions that everyone that becomes homeless has done something. They're on drugs. They robbed. They've been in jail. They've been this. That is a pre-assumption that we as society need to stop. But let's stop it right here with Andrea Thompson. What the assumptions that you got when you had to go and become homeless for 90 days? Educated, a mother, a writer. Let's talk a little bit about that.
It's interesting to me in that chapter. It was very important that I conveyed two things that happened during that time. The first was that I was roommates with a young woman who also had a son. And this young woman told me when she was braiding my hair, she said, you pretty cool. She said, we thought you were like an undercover boss. That's why we used to tell you when you first came all of the things that was going on here, because we thought that you were here to like investigate the administrators. And I was like, I'm in the same situation as you. What made you think that? And she said, you always up on your laptop late at night, and it's just something about you that made us think that you were not really.
She's going to get back to us in domestic violence conversation, because she has a chapter in this book where she talks about the presumptions of being homelessness. And being homeless is not always something that no one plans to be homeless. I'm a witness of that. But there are things that happen in one's life where homelessness sometimes happens. And Adrian is one of those individuals who is an educator, always on a laptop, is a writer, had a son, and all of those presumptions, all of those myths about homelessness, it was not a part of her life, yet she was labeled with that. And so we're hoping to get her back in our studio once again. But one of the things that she wrote in her book is, one would think that in my hometown, I have to have other places to go. The first night, therefore, was a week after my son's birthday. I wrestled with the idea of going to stay with friends. I had already tried staying with one family member, and that wasn't going to happen again. I thought back to when I went away to school, and my mom told me before I left to hit the road to do well, because I didn't have anywhere to come back to. I wondered if I had made the right decision to come back home. I had survived each the other states I live in, but it was a place that I call home, that the best place to be was actually a shelter. So she actually ended up going to a shelter, and I'm sure our producers are working to get her back into the studio. But let me distill the myth right now about being homeless. I have been an advocate of homelessness for the last 30 plus years, and I have seen it all. Individuals who are homeless does not necessarily mean that they've done something. Does not necessarily mean that they're lazy. Does not mean that they do not want to work. Does not mean that they're on drugs or they have abused drugs. Homelessness sometimes does not mean that something bad happened. It's just a situation that you find yourself temporary in at that particular time. It's not your life. And so when I look at this chapter for Ms. Thompson, which I'm hoping our studio will get her back in, we have to really dispel this myth about individuals we see on the street. And, the Bible is very clear. Judge lest you be judged. And so we have to stop judging. Now, let me say this again. Now, there are some instances where we have those abuse that I mentioned earlier. However, not everyone is in that category. So when you look at someone on the streets, don't always judge them. I often tell individuals when I see people on the street, if you are asked to give $1 or $2, don't give it grudgingly, because the Bible is very clear. If you're going to give it grudgingly, you might as well not give it at all. Don't prejudge. Well, just going to go and use it for drugs. Just going to go use it for that. Don't prejudge your giving, because what happens is that you cut your blessing off. If the Holy Spirit has asked you or told you to give that individual that has asked you for $1 or $2, then you give it willingly, because you don't know what's on the other side of that blessing. This is why I always let individuals know that because you see someone who is homeless, do not judge them. I'm not sure if our producer has her coming back in at this time, but I just wanted to dispel that myth. What she also writes in her book is courage under fire, or just faith under fire. Let me tell you something. I have met so many individuals who are just did not have the faith. And your faith, my faith, can be under fire. What exactly does that mean? From my standpoint, is that God, you will get your faith tested. And when your faith is tested, it is sometimes a very hard place. But, from faith to faith, from faith to faith. And when you take it from faith to faith, faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. Let me say that again. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. And the Bible is very clear. I am a spiritual girl. I am a Christian. It says without faith, it is difficult. We cannot please God. And so why is faith so important in the life that we lead today? Because not everything is going to be 1, 2, 3. There are going to be some struggles. I can tell you about some struggles that I've had as a nonprofit CEO, as a nonprofit executive, as a community leader, as an entrepreneur. I've had my ups and I've had my downs, but it was my faith that has kept me going. I can remember one time an example that the organization that I serve right now, we were really struggling. And not only were we struggling, we had some instances where people, individuals, were trying to shut us down. Yes, shut us down. And one day I woke up and I was in a prayer mode. And I asked God, I said, either you move it or you change it. My faith had been shaken because I knew that we had did the right thing, but my faith had been shaken. And not only that, when you sometimes struggle, you will find out who your friends are. But I know that I had a friend in God. And so in that instant, when I got up and I began to scream from the top of my head, I said, God, either you move it or you fix it. Right in that moment, God moved it. He changed the trajectory of what we were going through. He moved that person out of the way. You know, I always say that God has a sense of humor. But what happened is that my faith as the leader of the nonprofit was being challenged, and it was being challenged to the point where I had to make some decisions. Those were hard decisions, but my faith journey kept me going. My belief that God, he says also, and I'm going to say that he said all things work together for the good of them that love the Lord, that are called according to his purpose. And he says, not everything that I bring you is bad, but there are sometimes those stepping stones that we have to take to get to the next journey, to get to the next level of where God wants to take us. And that faith that I experienced under fire took us to the next level, took us to where God wanted us to be. But there were many lessons within that journey that I had to learn. And there were many lessons that I did learn. One of the lessons, let me share with you, is that I had to trust God whether anybody else trusts him. I had to rely on my ability and what he promised me, because what God promised, he is able to fulfill. I had to rely on those promises. I have never been homeless, but I've seen homeless in the light that I've never seen it before. I've seen them where they've been educated. I've seen them where they've had some abuse. I've seen where families have abandoned them. I've seen children who are homeless. I've seen the whole gamut of homelessness. And what I've learned is that, again, not everyone that's homeless wakes up saying, I'm going to be homeless today. And so we have to understand. Now, you're listening to Dr. Sonia Ricketts Stinson. I am the host of Dinner Table Conversation, hosted by BGK Network. And you know, if you don't have our mobile app, just go to our mobile store, any Google mobile store, just download it, and you can catch us on the go. And to get in touch with me, always, you can dial me toll free at 866-200-9850. And so let me go back into why I want you to understand the audacity of overcoming, because overcoming is just that. You have to have the willpower to overcome. And when you have the willpower to overcome, you have the audacity to overcome. You know, when I was a child, my father and mother, we were not believed that we were poor, but we were poor. And what I witnessed in all of the businesses that my father had is that anyone that came to the counter to get a cup of coffee, whether they had a dime or whether they were able to pay for it, he fed them. He fed them regardless. If they were homeless, he would always say, do you want something to eat? Because food is good for the soul. And so what I saw in my childhood is what has translated over into my adulthood. And I would take nothing from my journey right now. Because even when your faith is under fire, you have to know that there's a God still there, that there is lessons on the other side. What are some of the lessons that I've learned on the other side of my faith being under fire? Well, let me share with you some of the lessons I learned in a few minutes that I have left. First of all, I've learned that faith will keep you. And when I say faith will keep you, you can lay down at night knowing that the faith that you have, that God will make it happen, that the creator that we serve will change it, that faith, even though it's under fire, even though, I don't know about you, but there have been times where I wanted to just walk out, leave the state that I'm in, and just go somewhere else. But I had to ask myself that question: what would that do? What difference would that make? I would only be taking the same issues that I had in the state that I currently was in into the state that I think that I need to go to. And so I had to keep the faith. I had to keep the faith in spite of. And you know what? In keeping the faith, you will find that on this faith journey, when your faith is under fire, you will also find those individuals that will be a part of your life. So I saw, as I explained in one show, toxic relationships. And so my faith has been under fire not one time, not two times, but if I'm talking to you, several times that I've had to rely on my faith. And so what I've learned, my first lesson of faith under fire, is I had to learn to put my trust in the creator. I had to learn to trust God. Secondly, when my faith was under fire, I had to get quiet and be able to hear what was the lesson in this fire time. Yes, it was a fire time. I was in the furnace like the Hebrew boys. What was the lesson? I had to see God in the midst of the fire. And that is a difficult task when you're under fire, when things seem to be falling apart, when people seem to be falling off. I had to learn to see God in the midst of the flame. When you can see God in the midst of the flame, as the Hebrew boys did, you know that there's a God. They saw God, in my opinion, in the midst of the flame. Even the gods, the three Hebrew boys, and looked down, there was four. They were able to see God in the midst of the flame. When your faith is under fire, you got to be able to see God in the midst of the flame. Even when the flames are blazing higher than you would ever expect them. Be able to see God. So my second lesson in your faith under fire is see God in the midst of the flames. Look at him in the midst of the flames. Know that he will never leave you nor forsake you. And my third lesson, when my faith was under fire, I had to realize that not everybody will and can go with you when your faith is under fire. So let me give you a lesson in that. You have individuals who you believe that are going to be with you, but when trouble comes, they get to going. And they were not around to help me. They were not around to encourage me. In fact, many of them talked about me. Many of them planned our demise. You have to be very careful when you're in a faith fight, that who you take with you. Because in your faith fight, you need those individuals that's going to lift up your arms. You remember Moses, when his arms got tired in the Old Testament, he had two of his faithful to come and lift up his arms. That's what you need when you're in a faith fight. When you're in a faith fight, you need to have those individuals that will lift up your arms, that will say, I'll be with you in the midst of the storm. I'll be with you in the midst of this. You need someone that's going to lift you up and not tear you down. Not ask you, what did you do? How come this happened? But someone to say that I'm here with you. I'm here to encourage you. I'm here to be with you no matter what. I was in a faith fight. My faith was under fire, and I had to find those individuals. And I thank God today that I found those individuals that helped me raise my arms up. They're my two sisters, and I love them so much. Not my biological sisters, but sisters who understood that we were in a battle. Sisters who I can call and I can talk to and say, I need you to help me hold my arms up, because I was ready to walk out. And so if you're someone out there right now in a faith fight, and if you're someone that needs to overcome, know that you can do it. Know that you have the opportunity. This is not the time to give up. This is not the time to give in to the enemy, because the enemy is tricky. The enemy is clever. The enemy wants you to give up. The enemy wants you to revert back to the old you. But you cannot give up. When you're in a faith fight, know that you're in a fight for the finish. And guess what? Let me end this with saying that the fight is always fixed. The fight is always fixed. And know that God is in the fight with you. He's right there in the ring with you. And in due season, you will reap. And that's REAP. If you faint. That's what it says, that in good times you will weep if you faint not. So you cannot faint in the faith fight. You must remain in the ring no matter how difficult it gets. I want to thank you for tuning in to Dinner Table Conversations with Dr. Sonia Ricketts Stinson on the Rural Channel. Listen, if you are not somewhere where you cannot catch us on your laptop, just download our mobile app at any Google or Apple store. To reach out to me, just go to my website at soniastinsonministries.org. And if you're looking someplace to broadcast your ministries, go to bgk.org and talk to one of our producers, and they will be glad to help you bring your show to the next level. Until next time, bye-bye. Have a great and wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Matthew House comes from the scripture, Matthew 25:35. I was a stranger and you took me in. I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was in prison and you came to visit me. That's how we developed Matthew House. 3 African American men who had the compassion and the love of people who are all veterans. My name is Dr. Sonia Ricketts Stinson, and I am the Executive Director and the CEO of Matthew House.
Right now we're in the common room, which is also named as the day room. This is where most of our clients eat during the daytime. This is where they can watch TV. This is where they can socialize.
Hi, my name is Kirsten Dickens. I work as a nurse practitioner and one of the providers at Heartland Alliance Health. So here, Heartland Alliance has a number of outreach sites around the city, so linkage agreements with certain sites where we take our typical outpatient clinic model and bring it in to specific outreach sites, Matthew House being one of them.
Or they can go and get their public entitlement benefits. Or helping with a storage bid, supplying the blankets, or supplying the toiletries. Cleaning supplies is something we take for granted. Other things that we have to get done. There's building maintenance that we have to take care of. There's the supported service at the program staff who have to definitely be here from 12 hours a day in order that the individuals are not in the heat and they're not in the cold. So we need your help. We need your financial support.
We need volunteers. You can go to our website at MatthewHouseChicago.org. There's a donation button, but most of all, we need funds. We need all that we can get to fix this building because these people need a place to be.
And I'm glad I'm here, and I will continue to be here until I'm not here anymore.